Linux OTC. Welcome to episode 18. We're your hosts. I'm Bill.
I'm Eric.
I'm Leo.
All right. So here we are again. We are several hosts short. I don't even know at this point if Norbert is still with us or not. I feel.
Wait, how many hosts are there?
Well,
Technically,
I'm
on the
going to
website,
say,
officially.
officially, I'm going to say 5 at this point.
Let me go to linuxotc.org,
Yeah.
and we're gonna verify that real quick.
I do not have a about the hosts because I asked you guys for bios and nobody sent me one. So
just
Oh,
said- you
that's
just-
completely untrue.
no, not you, but long before. I say long before you and Majid came along and I want to say rescued us, but I don't know.
Oh,
I
please.
might be a little
It
rough.
would have just been me and
I,
Bill.
I,
so
I think I've driven everybody off.
I don't want to be mean to Norbert. It's tough when you're young. It really is.
No, it is. It is, but I will say that this is like the lowest effort in terms of preparation.
That was my
So,
goal.
You know,
Yeah.
compared to the other podcasts I do, which I put like a tremendous amount of effort into making show notes and researching stuff and getting all my facts correct, and then I come on here and just like blab.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
And I needed that sort of release from all that. All that structure for me causes tension, because I'm wanting to talk. I'm wanting to talk about my opinions on this. I think, and there's a place for just reading news and I'm not going to say anything bad about Mintcast. It's a very old, very venerable Linux podcast, but they're very set in their ways. And
Well, hang on, Bill. I have this tab open. It was a news story. I want to read it all.
Okay.
From top to
Word
bottom.
for
It's
word.
about 6,000 words. Hang on, give me a minute.
we're making fun, but there is apparently a listener base that really does enjoy that, because I have gone so far as to ask for opinions on that. When I found out, that some of the people that have been around the longest, that's kind of what they're used to, and so I decided instead of bullying my way in and rocking the boat, I will just make another show with the right people, and I think it's been a good idea.
That's
I
all
think
right. I've been the bully. I'm the one that came in and said,
Yeah,
"Hey, I know I'm the new guy and all, but why do we read all these news stories and then don't even respond to them and just keep plowing through and
It's news.
Yeah, it's news, all right. No, and so that what I basically came up with, and this is the premise of any podcast in my opinion, unless it's specifically like something like Full Circle News that Moss does, where
That
it's
is
literally
just
just
news.
right. It's just him reading the news, and none of those stories that he reads on there are long form. They're all very quick, little succinct blurbs about whatever the story is, and it works very well because it's usually less than 10 minutes. It's just his
Oh,
voice.
that's
There's
on
no.
purpose. Like the 10-minute is the actual maximum.
No. I get that.
Yeah.
But that's why it works so well. I think long form, where you start reading these press release stories that are, the same person's literally reading the same story for 15 minutes sometimes. And it's just, it gets to be, I understand there are people that appreciate that level of detail, but there's a difference between written word and spoken word.
Well, if I were
And-
still on the show, I would have long since recommended that for those types of articles, you shove it through ChatGPT. And get a summary. No, really.
Right, and summarize it.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
a 50 to 100 word summary and then plow through that. And
Yeah.
then, I feel like everybody could read that summary and have an opinion about it.
That's
you
the
know.
important part is that
Yeah.
I think we're missing is the opinion part, which is the whole purpose of having a panel show with different people isn't that different people read different things. It's that you read something, you establish what the topic is, and then you have some amount of discussion on it.
Well, that's
And-
just your opinion.
Well, the point, like, I don't know about you, but the reason I listen to all the different Linux podcasts I do isn't because I haven't already heard the news, because I guarantee you I
Yeah.
have. it's because I want to hear what that person has to say or that person has to say. So
Yeah.
That joke was 3 levels deep. I get it.
yeah, yeah,
And I completely agree. I think if some of the guys, and this is not criticism at all, but some of the guys would probably say, "Well, we do it this way so that we can talk about this topic." But the reality is, most of the time, we have no idea what we're talking about. So if you don't know what it is that but
right.
I would to that I would say, all right, well then just leave it out if you don't have anything to say about it,
Yeah,
because I can go to Full Circle and I can get the 10-minute news dump of everything that's going on, and then I can follow the links and make my own mind up, and that works really well for me. And I don't think there's anything wrong with not having everybody talk about every little thing. Or if somebody doesn't have anything to say about an article, then just leave it out altogether. Because
right.
there's a very big difference between the places where I get my news and the places where I want to hear what folks are talking about. So
Well, the other confusing part was that we have these Saturday review shows, and the last 3 or 4 that I had attended, we didn't review anything. We just kind of sat there and talked about whatever, and half the people weren't there, and so it's confusing because I thought, well, isn't the point of this is that we're like just vetting the stories that we want to actually put on here so that we understand what they are and then we know whether we have an opinion or not.
Yeah.
And yeah,
yeah.
that didn't seem to be the
Maybe.
case. Well, so trust me, I want to push the show forward a little bit, and I don't think there can be many people that honestly can say that they appreciate just the long form news reads, because we're not even that good at it. I mean, that's
No, I'm not. Oh my gosh.
that's the honest truth. It's not like any of us are professional news readers and you're getting like a really polished.
Well, I am.
Well, okay, not the rest of us aren't. But, and I think again, it comes back to the whole spirit of the show. I mean, the thing I took it back to was, well, where's the mint content? Right? And that because I wasn't quite getting the spirit of
Well,
like, okay, it's a mint podcast, and if
I've got an
there's
answer for
mint,
that.
okay,
It's the Linux Mint podcast for all users of Linux, and I think even when I started, we leaned very heavily into the all users of Linux. So the thing was that what you talk about doesn't always have to be Mint. It just has to work on Mint, and the cool thing about
Yeah.
that is that it works on all Linuxes. So all content really is Mint content.
What's going on in the world of Linux from the perspective of a Mint user?
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
You know,
A little bit more like that than it is just about Mint. Because how much could you possibly talk about Cinnamon?
well, Linux Mint is one of the most popular Linux distros in the world. It's used by probably a fairly large leftover percentage of people who aren't.
and I
using
think that is
Ubuntu.
because it's not all that interesting. It
Yes,
gets
No.
interesting.
Actually, yes.
About once every 2 years, it gets interesting with Clem blocking snaps or something like that, and then
As he should have.
yeah,
Well-
I want to talk about that, by the way, too. But for the most part, it just works, and you know what to expect from it. Which is how many different ways can we make that into a conversation? I don't know, but
Well, I think that I don't know. I guess my perception of it, if I see something called Mintcast, I guess I assume that it is mostly relevant
Yep.
to
This is a
Mint,
problem.
and the fact that if I were to listen to that, let's say I'm a new user or a curious person who's heard of Linux Mint. My cousin uses it, and he says, check it out. So I go, I really like podcasts because I drive a lot. So I look on my podcatcher and I see, oh, there's a Mintcast. Oh, that's cool. And it's got the Mint logo and all that. Okay. So this must be about Linux Mint. And I listen to like 3 episodes and never hear one thing about Mint.
Well, that
That
was the
seems a
thing
little bit
about
of a
it.
problem to me.
So every other episode should have lots of Mint content because
I
Clem
think
comes
every
out with
episode
the progress
should.
reports. Well, yeah, I can see that. But what new happens? So I guess, okay, actually, hold on. I got to back up because that would be every 4th episode then because you break them into 2 because they're so long. Yeah, like with the other three, what would you talk about? What would you expect to hear on that?
I would do something around on like a Mint corner where I would have looked at the forums. I would have looked at Reddit. I would have looked at somewhere where the users congregate and just kind of seen what was the interesting topic of discussion for that week. It's not that hard.
That's a pretty good idea,
Well,
actually.
I mean, so what you're saying is that you'll bring in a couple of forum questions or something like that to kind of hash out.
Yeah,
and then
just
and then
something.
The end result of that is always, well, actually go to the Ubuntu forums because it's really just Ubuntu.
No.
I don't know that
No,
that's the
I don't
experience,
agree
though.
with that. I don't agree with that because it's not Ubuntu. They're
If it's a
substantially
cinnamon
different
problem,
things.
right? Yeah.
Well, no, even apt. They don't use normal apt.
Oh, but
they have.
what could break an apt that?
Did you know you can use apt without the password on Mint? Just apt install such and such.
Really? Without
I
the password?
just learned that not long ago. You can also do apt update and apt upgrade TAC Y
Without the password.
without the password on Mint.
Well, you know that actually makes sense because the software manager that the update manager that Mint uses.
See, mine asks me for a
You don't-
password.
Now
every
the
time I
updates
update.
ask for a password.
Do they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I do
they
them
do.
so infrequently. I don't know.
But
Yeah.
to run an apt command like typing it out on the terminal doesn't ask, and no doubt that's some
Bill, you
tomfoolery with
no, you curled
policy kit or something.
to bash that changed up the back end of your. I don't think that's.
Yeah,
I don't think that's true.
Well, their app is basically like it's a wrapper around app,
Yeah.
and so
well,
anyway, you know-
technically, Linux Mint's app is the first app. So
yeah. I don't know. Well, maybe it's the situation is be the change, and if I want it to be different, then I will just
Yeah.
come up with content around
dude,
Mint.
just shove it into the wanderings, man.
Because I have to be honest with you, like I do want to hear what people are up to, but I also don't really care that someone like did something really inane and had nothing to do with technology. Like I don't care that you had your car, the oil changed in your car, or
Oh, that's weird.
whatever other thing that you're just shoving in there because you're trying to brainstorm about like what did I do this month? Oh,
Man,
that's
the
or
show
this.
would be like a whole hour less.
I brought
Would that
that
be
up.
the worst thing in the world that it would be a half an hour long?
I've brought up the wanderings, and I've gotten some very emotional responses out of people about
Well,
the wanderings because it was
internally or externally, like listeners?
internally. There's
Well,
one
I
or
could guess
two
who that
people
was.
that, there's one person, in fact, that got so angry he hung up on Discord when we brought that up.
Yeah, we know who that is.
Well, you might not.
Anyway.
But then that other person has hung up on us multiple times for other reasons. So, that's just when I realized, okay, there's only so many things you're going to be able to change, because I don't know if it's good or bad. The longer something sits and never changes, the more people become entrenched. And
If when you start a new endeavor, it's a job, it's a volunteer effort, it's a hobby, it's whatever it is, you bring yourself to it.
yeah,
You don't just strip yourself away and become a cog in the machine unless it's a government job or something. Like you have to, especially something like this where we're not getting any benefit of
Creative
it.
thing. It's a creative.
Yeah,
endeavor.
it's just fun to do. It's something that's
Yeah.
an outlet for having a conversation with like-minded people, or maybe not even like-minded people, just people that happen to use the same types of technologies that I do. But the point being, like, if I say I'm going to do a podcast, you can't expect that I'm not going to have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just the way the world works. And, I obviously enjoyed what you're doing enough that it attracted me to come and talk to you in the first place. So that's a good thing, right? That shows that either the people are interesting or the conversation, whatever. But, I get in there and then I start having questions and think about things. And if the answer is we've always done it this way, or that was the vision, or whatever, that just doesn't fly. It doesn't fly in the rest of the world. And, it can't be that insular, in my opinion. So
Well, I'm going to be real interested as time goes on because I see you have lots of ideas and
but I don't. I have really just basic sort of like, don't do
well, I
this
mean,
because it's
it's
long
very
and boring.
Good
subjective.
ideas. They're just
I think they're
regular
good
Right.
ideas,
Yeah.
and
I really don't want to revolutionize it. I really don't. I just
That's
say,
the
you know,
title
I
of the
think
show. It's not good ideas, just regular ideas.
that's it. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I listen to podcasts all week long,
yeah,
and the ones that I'm drawn to are the ones that introduce a topic and then have a panel discussion on it with people that you enjoy listening to, and that's what they do every single time. There's no variation there. The things they talk about are different, but it's the same people. It's almost like comfortable in a way because you haven't expected like, oh well, that's the guy that doesn't like this thing, or that's the guy that loves this, or and it's endearing, and you sort of build a little bit of a unrequited bond or whatever you want to call it, and podcasts are different. Podcasts are a weird thing compared to just about anything else. Like a video, I don't expect any kind of engagement on a podcast. I'm doing it, you know what I mean? Like maybe I get comments and stuff like that, but podcasts, I feel like I'm putting myself out there. Like I have an opinion, I'm speaking about something. There's nothing worse than asking for feedback and you get none. That's a terrible sign.
welcome.
Terrible sign.
Have you seen Three Fat Truckers?
I mean,
You want to talk about a very, very different audience.
Here's my feedback. I
Yeah.
need you to do the thing though.
Yeah.
we have to insert the sound right there.
Yeah,
Bill,
yeah.
you gotta
So
put
But
that
they're-
if you're audio only, I was doing the honk your horn, trucker man, thing with my arm.
So you're
And-
saying you have a vocal audience? An
What-
opinionated audience?
Not really. Not on Three Fat Truck. Well,
Oh, I thought
the
I thought-
They
Facebook
don't type
group.
while they drive, Eric.
They don't type at all. And we found out because we do like a little weekly poll on our website, just a little WordPress plugin thing. And
That will be hacked soon. Don't worry.
we've noticed that like if we do a multiple choice kind of poll, like, okay, how many years have you been driving? And then I'll put like 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, whatever. We'll get at least 20 to 30 responses on that, 20 to 30 hits on that. If we put something like, what is your favorite place to eat, where somebody has to actually type something in the box, we get 0.
Oh, it's friction. It's all about friction.
Yeah.
Like people don't want to give you that time a lot of times unless you make them really happy or really sad or really mad. And the really happy ones usually don't even bother because they're like, thanks. And then they walk away and, but you might get the little thumbs up on the website or something. But yeah, it's about friction, man.
And the other reality is that most of our interaction, most of our traction is on the Facebook group, which, makes me want to swallow my tongue. But that's
You got to go where the people are.
that's
man.
where the people are. That's where the normal
That's
people
it.
are, and it is somewhat vibrant.
Normal? People?
Well, it's because normal people, they come around to the internet for things like Facebook, I think. I mean, it kind of like made the internet useful to those
Ew.
that
No, it
particular
was-
group of people.
My 94-year-old grandmother has an iPad, and basically the internet to her is her email and Facebook. Like she may use a browser if it accidentally opens because she pushed a link or something, but it's not. She doesn't understand that the internet is a collective pool of knowledge, and that she has a question, she could just go search for it. That doesn't exist in her mind.
So what you're saying
Right.
is she understands how Mastodon works.
Well, she could. Yeah, I
Well,
think
you
she
don't
could.
know. You don't even have to explain it. Just be like, here you go, sign up, put your password, and then log into this.
Right. So,
And-
no, I don't disagree with that. But what I'm saying is that I think it's a little unfair for everyone to just assume that the entire population of Facebook is nothing but trolls and, shills for a political party or whatever other terrible thing, or they're all just boomers and horrible people. Like the truth is
Well, that
that,
might be true.
well, no, it's I don't.
I'm kidding.
What kills me is that I have a lot of younger like family members who make sure to maintain a presence there. Now they're not taking pictures of themselves going out partying or, you know, like that kind of stuff. That's on TikTok or whatever other dumb thing they're using. But they come back to Facebook because that's like the, you know, the place where all the family members are, where they, you know, see pictures from their aunt or their uncles or what, you know, it's just like, so Facebook still has that value. I mean, yes, of course there's a lot of noise and, you know, unpopular opinions and, you know, I see, and the cringiest part is that it's usually people you know. You know, it's like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
oh, there's a reason
know
I didn't
that
want to be
guy.
friends with you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have seen our page when they did that thing with the phones. What was it, the week before last?
Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm not going to get into the real stupid part, or well, I'm sorry, folks. What some people I knew believed was going to happen, but I was
Oh, that thing, the
the
warning
alarm.
system.
My
Yes,
gosh,
yes.
my phone goes off for that at least 3 times a week for silver alerts and
Oh, yeah.
amber
Amber
alerts
alerts,
and thing,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was technically no different from that, but people
because it was
had
all
some.
at once and it was from the top down. Don't you understand?
Yeah, my
The
God.
fact that people believe anything, like, I guess I try to, I don't want to be like cocky or, you know, like, oh, these people are just so stupid. And
Yeah.
because it, from an outsider's perspective, it is so easy to just be dismissive and be like, God, they're just so out of touch with reality and so insulated from, you know, everyone that has a valid viewpoint and opinion. Like, how else could you possibly hold those opinions if you didn't have someone around you building that force field of distortion? You know, like,
Yeah.
you can't believe that kind of thing in a vacuum, is basically what I'm saying. You have had to have heard it from someone else and have gotten validation from someone else,
On which platform?
not just Facebook.
No, but
The platform is the local bar. The platform is, you know,
Leo's
texting your
favorite
friend.
Weapon X. Yeah.
listen, I make sure that 5G is enabled every time I go to the store to make sure that everybody gets infected. Okay,
That's
like,
right.
listen, I'm doing my part for the government to make sure that everybody got the brain bug or whatever it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think the fascinating thing about that to me is it's just a symptom of feeling like they don't have any control over the way the world works, the way that, you know, the dynamic of power and wealth and everything else and all the inequality they feel. And so this is the way they manifest it, is that they've come up with these bizarre conspiracy theories
And
where
then
they feel like,
popular culture has all these stories, all these movies, and it's all very tantalizing, all very interesting. The books, well, we'll skip over the books. The movies. People watch the movies and they see interesting things going on in these make-believe governments, and they think that
Wait. Are you trying to tell me that S.H.I.E.L.D. is not real?
no.
From the Marvel universe?
I'm trying to tell you that
Samuel L. Jackson's not the guy?
if people only
Listen,
knew how
don't rage quit on us,
uninteresting,
Leo.
how
How dare you.
uninteresting the government really is, and how completely inept people are at higher levels at doing. If you walked in the FBI after watching, or the CIA after watching all those movies, and you're looking for all that high tech stuff, walls of monitors and everything like that, and people are able to hit the enhance button and basically make a intelligible picture out of anything, you know, and then you go there and you see people still using Rolodexes, and they've outsourced every single
No,
thing that's
That is a front, just like the moon landing. When you go past the first restricted door, that's where.
you got to
That's
follow
where
those
all-
wires that are running along the ceiling
No,
and go
it's
into
all
that door at the
5G
end of the hall.
wireless, dude. It's all 5G
That's right, it's all
wireless.
wireless,
So
yeah.
you go back, you go past that first restricted door. Boom! Everything you've ever seen in the movies, that's where it's
Listen,
at.
I'm
Of
gonna-
course, they're not going to put that in the front, man.
It's you go through the kitchen, through the freezer. There's a
Mm-hmm.
false panel in the back of the freezer that
There
gets you
you
into the
go.
tunnel that you walk down. There's Dobermans and, you know,
And I
guards.
think
Eric's on a
people-
list now. That's the secret. You're on the
People
list now,
give
dude.
people in government way too much credit for having the
Yes.
that type of organizational skill when demonstrably they do not. Like all these
Yeah.
secrets that are supposedly being kept. Right, yeah, because our people in power have demonstrated the ability to.
Oh, dude, the thing that sealed it for me was the War Thunder forums. You know this game, tanks and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, tanks and
Yeah.
guns and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
And not once, not twice, 3 times did we have active battle plans, top secret, shared on Discord in the War Thunder Discord forum. So, like, this is why I don't think aliens exist, because it would have been it would have been dumped on some forum or Discord or
Yep.
in
Some
Telegram or
low
something like that.
level officer wants to impress somebody, so he jumps in and he's, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not
Yeah.
an officer. You don't.
It-
Oh
and it was
yeah.
clout
Well,
chasing,
listen to
too.
this.
Yeah, it wasn't even it wasn't even like some kind of clandestine something or another that we're trying to take over the. It was just some dude that was like, nah, dude, I do work for the government. Check this out, and yeah, that was it. I love it.
The Army, we had an old saying: 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. And
Work?
and I'm going to go one further. I don't think that third person be able to pull it off either.
Probably
He'll
not.
find
So-
2 more
Enough beers.
people.
It only takes 4 beers, man. And,
I'm
That's it.
telling you, and everybody's got an agenda. Everybody's got reasons why they would spill the juice,
yeah,
so
you just got to figure out what someone doesn't like, man. And if they don't like shame, just shame them. And if they don't like embarrassment, embarrass them. And they'll give you what you want. You don't even
Yeah.
have to go hard.
Look at
Or just-
computer security. How does systems get broken? The companies that spend literally millions of dollars
yeah.
on security. How does it get broken? Almost every single time. Social engineering.
yeah.
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 You can't.
I thought
as long as people
FedEx
are in the
really
equation.
was sending me a package. That's why I clicked on the PDF.
Wait, I don't get it free? No, actually, the best ones are the ones where it's like, we're a third-party contractor that works for your company. We're setting up a new app, and you have to set up your password and stuff. So here, click this thing, and it's going to ask you to log into your system. So go ahead and put in your normal. I mean, it's brilliant because it's so mundane and so boring that how could it be, dangerous?
So check this out, right? Google is working now to autocorrect in the URL bar. So if you type Google with one O, Google will insert the O for you, and this will go for big banks, big companies,
Yeah.
yeah. So Facebook with zeros or something like that. So what do we think about this? It's the man. dude. It's the
well-
man telling you where to go on the internet. It's what's happening.
Yeah.
I assume you're talking about something built into Chrome or Chromium, whatever.
Yeah.
It will be, yeah. Here's the difference between, here's how the filter I put all these stories through. There's me and you and the people I know in the tech space. And then there is the rest of humanity who doesn't know anything about any of this, who doesn't want to know anything about any of this, who a feature like that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to save you from yourself and just put that extra O in there for you, and you'll
I think
thank
that's
me
what's-
for it.
Yeah, I think that's what's frustrating about Linux in general, is that there are a whole lot of people that use Linux and just absolutely require it to be the hard way, and I think that's perfectly fine because we have this concept of distros, and you can just be on a distro that is the hard way, but you don't have to be on a distro that there are easy ways to do things and then just complain about the easy things, right? I think that
Yeah.
happens a lot. I think that's happening with Wayland right now. And
Well, I think you could probably make the argument that, you could do things one way and then everybody could just sort of learn that way. And, but no, let's break all that apart and make it into distros and then be able to fork all the software every time we don't like a change that's made. We're going to rage quit and create a new branch of a software.
that's literally how it works now, right? I
You know
mean,
what my biggest frustration this last few weeks has been using software that becomes abandoned. And I get that it's open source. I get that someone is freely giving their time. I get that. But once you create a project that people rely on, and then that thing flounders, and this goes all the way from the developers of the main, application itself, all the way to maintainers, people who create a package in the AUR. I mean, all the way down the line where there's some level of dependence on that by a user base, and then it stops being dependable. Like the fallacy that there's more software available in Arch it is just that. It's a fallacy. I have come to understand that the AUR is good for the very small percentage of those popular packages that
Always
people
hated it.
need to use. Everything else that's in there is, you might as well just roll the dice. Is this going to be maintained? Is it even correct in the first place? Who the hell knows?
But okay, and I'm gonna.
You riled up the Arch user.
Well, no.
Here we go.
I want to connect a couple of things because everybody knows. Bill uses
Let
Arch.
Bill explain to you why.
Wait.
Old
No, I'm
software
gonna
is
further
cool.
your point though because
Okay.
okay, so for some of you might be aware, there's a relatively new podcast out there called Linux Matters.
Linux OTC, and you
And-
go to linuxotc.org and listen to it.
We're at episode 18, so we are an OG OTC PC on the NET.
Right.
Okay, so there's this new show out there called Linux Matters, and as some people would be aware, two of the hosts on that show were very high-profile employees of Canonical once upon a time, and
he's
one.
deflecting. He's not going to talk about the AUR. He's
I'm gonna
talk
bring.
about
I'm gonna
different
bring this so
packaging
full
system.
circle, dude. You'll be. Yeah. You're gonna be able to
Get some
hang your keys
popcorn
off of
here,
this.
so. That's right. Yeah.
So what they was okay. So everybody's been kind of you fall into like three categories with things like snaps, where you either do not care, you absolutely hate them, or you are for whatever reason advocating for them. And a year ago, I would have been, I don't use them, but if you're on a Ubuntu system, then they're probably a good idea because these are actually made by people that are, that know what they're doing. And Canonical is a business with a, they've got a corporate sort of imperative behind them that pushes them in the direction, and they're going to see to this snap thing and make sure that it's a quality product. But then I listened to
engineered and
yeah, but then I listened to Linux Matters, and they was talking about, and I don't think they meant it to be received quite the way I received it, but nonetheless they made it clear that there was a lot of snaps that were being managed by very few people, and there's a large number of people using these snaps, and they have not been updated in over a year. In fact,
longer.
And very important snaps like OBS Studio. OBS Studio was an interesting snap because it was packaged by one of these two individuals with all of the plugins that they could find, just threw them all in there, which made it very usable. And
very unwieldy, but I get the point.
But it has not been updated in a year. And now this is a thing that is pushed as a proper product. Yes, it exists in our little open source space, and it's canonical and all that, but we're not talking about one or two little problems within that space. We're talking about a huge problem because you've got a small number of people, and they've been pushing this thing not just as an option for installing software, but as the default option now for any Ubuntu and all of the flavors. And here it is, just packed full of software that's not been updated, not just a little while, but a long while. And I'm afraid that the kind of user that just installs Ubuntu for whatever reason and then fires up the software center and installs a piece of software, they're not thinking about the maintenance of it, and they're not thinking about the update schedule and things like that. They might not be thinking about any of that at all. They're just kind of trusting that since it's Canonical, and Canonical has been pushing really, really hard with this Snap thing, and now we've gotten to the point where there's an entire ecosystem of outdated software on this thing that we were just absolutely, we were kind of shamed sometimes when we had a dissenting voice. Those voices were kind of shamed, like, well, this is something we need to do as a community to move forward if we ever want third-party software manufacturers or developers to take us seriously. Like, it was even said things like Adobe. If we ever want the hope of having that type of gold standard AAA title software, then we need to get behind things like Snaps. And I feel like now it's not been a progression. I feel like it's been a regression, because now we've blurred the line even further with this stuff. And now, I know Flatpak's a great thing. It's got its problems too.
The same problem. It's got the same problem.
The same problems, except it's not being pushed by a major company within this space as the default option for installing software.
It has a similar problem, but it's not exactly the same.
Not really, because you take a couple of distributions that use it for the default packaging, like Fedora and Elementary or something like that.
It has the same problem as the AUR, where there's a certain group of packages that are popular, and therefore they are maintained. All of the other stuff, it's the purview of the one developer or the one packager who is using it and whether they continue to use it. That's how that system works. They let anybody...
Right, but that's how Snaps work too. Like,
well, except the AUR, you are getting it directly from the upstream. So if the upstream has a update to their software, your AUR is just checking the version. When you're updating stuff that's in the AUR, it's checking version numbers. You'll get the update.
No, because dependencies, the package build file it's more than just checking for the latest version. There's a lot
of them will just have a version number, well, like a greater sign and then a version number or something like that. I just don't think you're not...
It very much depends on the package that you're trying to get, because a lot of those package builds are written such that it's got a hard-coded version in it, or it's got options that are only compatible with specific versions. Stuff breaks all the time.
And to some degree, you got the exact same problem in the community repo as well.
This is why I think Arch got its reputation for breaking. The base system built by the Arch devs and the community, like the actual repository stuff, that doesn't really break ever. I can't say ever.
They make breaking changes, and then they expect people to be responsible enough to read.
Right, but I think the AUR has a big role to play in how unstable Arch may or may not seem.
Yeah. No, so my take on Canonical is there's no surprise in their behavior. They're a for-profit entity making decisions that benefit their business and their paying customer base. If you think for a second that they really care about their community on the desktop, you are absolutely fooling yourself. Because what does that community get them? Honestly, at the end of the day, those decisions are being made by if the idea is, it's grassroots, we're planting the seeds, and then this person who discovered Ubuntu is going to somehow grow that that doesn't work that way. That's not reality. The reality is that they have contracts.
Like a true Red Hat spokesperson. I appreciate it.
You mean IBM Red Hat?
Yeah. No, I don't disagree.
They're making the right decisions for themselves. You want to know why Snap's important? Because those things that they don't want to have to create multiple packages for and pay developers to sit there and package the same thing over and over for all the different
and that's
versions.
Fine. But
Firefox and Thunderbird and every other desktop, core desktop software will be maintained by someone paid by Canonical because it's imperative to their business that they do so.
Yeah,
until they quit.
Else, you think OBS? Who cares about OBS?
Yeah.
Nobody paying customer cares about OBS.
I care about OBS. It works fine in Flatpak.
Do you pay a Canonical?
No. I use
you're not a paying customer.
Sort of. I could possibly. I use the ESM.
Yeah. Are you going to sign up for? Is there advertising in the terminal finally getting to you?
No, I just wanted image magic.
That's it. Image magic. For some
But
reason, we just had to have that.
Well, but that's the
Anyway,
thing, right?
I'm
Like snaps aren't really any that much worse, except for their multi-platform, than the idea of multiverse, of this idea that you can make available in Ubuntu packages through apt that pretty much never get maintained. That's why Image Magic shows up, because Canonical stepped in and said, all right, fine, we'll maintain it this time because there's an issue with it. But if you want to get access to that, you got to pay for it, because normally the fix for that would have been non-existent. There wouldn't have been a fix. No one would have told you about the problem with Image Magic, and that's why it's paywalled, or well, you get a few free ones, but paywalled behind the ESM. So I don't necessarily.
But how many
fault
other
them for doing
projects
that.
has Canonical contributed to and then just sent it back upstream to Debian?
I think
And
that's
then
how it
all of a
works, though.
sudden,
No, but that's
this.
how it works, though.
Yeah, but now in order to get this upstream, this package that would have normally been upstream, in order to get the updated version, we have to go
Well,
with
no,
this
hold
new
on.
thing.
It doesn't work that way. I mean, Ubuntu and the developers on Ubuntu upstream it. That is the way that it works. So whatever's in Debian is the work of some Ubuntu employees and the rest of the Debian community. So if you want something to land in Ubuntu, you land it in Debian first.
Right.
That is how it works. And then it comes downstream, and Ubuntu is based off of a snapshot of testing with other fixes that have come through testing or were through testing. Unless it's something that wouldn't go into Ubuntu into Debian, in which case then it's patched. Then
because it's not
patched. But-
Libre. Yeah.
right.
So if I would have installed Debian on a server and had okay, let's say I go ahead and go with SID or whatever, just to make sure that I have the absolute up to date everything. Would I have had that patched version of Image Magic on a purely Debian system?
I don't know. Does anybody manage it like that on Debian?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. They patched it and then offered it, but you have to have ESM when it's.
Right, but that's the thing, though. It's that it very well may have been yes. Like, the answer to that question is probably yes. But the thing is that when you're on an Ubuntu, you're frozen. That's why you wouldn't get that patch. You're frozen.
Right.
I mean, so, and it was a community effort in the first place to bring it to Ubuntu, right? So, like, Ubuntu would not have added it if it weren't for the community that was like, all right, we need this in Ubuntu, so we're going to bring it in. And then Ubuntu was like, all right, you take care of it then. Because if you don't accept ESM and then the community brings in a patch for Image Magic, you get that patch. So you're not losing anything with ESM. You are only gaining Ubuntu-specific patches that may drop before upstream.
Yeah, and it didn't really bother me. It was a big surprise. It didn't bother me because they're offering 5 installations for free, and I don't even know what the payment thing is beyond 5.
More than I'm
but
going to spend.
yeah, it was an interesting.
I keep giving my $5 to Linux Mint and to Elementary because I just like what they do. But I want them to be on Wayland, so I give them $5, and I always type like in the notes, "Don't forget Wayland."
They're working on it.
Here's your Wayland bucks.
Yeah, these are Wayland dollars. Okay, this is only for Wayland development.
Yeah. For anybody, well, I haven't released it yet. It'll be released today, the first half of the last episode of Mintcast 423. There was an interview with Danielle Foray. Rather,
Oh, did y'all ask the Wayland question?
we did. Well, somebody did, and or it got segued somehow or another. And
What'd she say?
they are working on it. They have a Wayland session already made. It's not that good though. They're still working on it, and they're not
Yeah,
going
that's
to put
what
it
she
out
said.
there until it's.
She's basically said we are working on it. We are looking at it. It's not imminent, but it is not also being ignored.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I would like to see it drop for 8, but I'm skeptical that it'll make that. But I mean, they usually take a yearish to drop it, so we'll have 2404, and then probably around 2015 or 2025.
Well, 7.1's
Nice
got some
try.
really
Yeah.
interesting stuff in it.
It was
that-
close.
they're really, I don't know, they're really kind of pushing for the accessibility in 7.1. They've got some interesting options in there, one of which for color deficient people with color deficiency
Yeah,
in
I
their
was
vision.
playing with that.
Yeah.
I am not colorblind, so it looked weird to me, but
Yeah.
that was
Well,
pretty cool. I really liked that.
my son's colorblind. I brought him downstairs. I said, "Hey, look at this." And I mean, he went so far as to say, "Well, is that how things are supposed to look?" And I'm like, "Well, this is, he has trouble. He can see colors to some degree. He has trouble with like the differences between the shades, and like a really dark green looks like black to him or something like that.
Yeah, my brother has one of the kinds. Yeah.
But this was, I didn't even know that you could negate these problems like that with different shadings
Well,
and
Science.
yeah.
It's not like it makes the colors like they can actually see them now. It allows them to be able to differentiate them though.
Right. So
And
if you're
that-
The
doing,
contrast is there. Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's huge. I mean, anytime somebody's going to do that kind of work in Linux, that people have asked the questions about these derivative distributions. Is there any point to this? Why not just use Ubuntu? Well, stuff like this is the point.
Yeah.
It's that that little bit that they don't have to work on the guts underneath. They can add their value. And then offer an experience that's different from what you would get.
Hey,
Yeah.
my cat's trying to invade. And
Not
he will
invade.
wreck things.
The
He will
kitty's
wreck
name
things.
is Norbert, and he's made it.
It'll be like the Mongol hordes racing across the steppes. Hey,
Yeah,
you
and
stay
I think-
down there.
I do think that's one of the big things that has held Wayland adoption back. I think that's a big reason that it's held Linux adoption back is that there are a lot of accessibility options that just aren't available over here that are available in the other platforms, and so you kind of end up with we gotta have them.
Well, the question I asked was, well, first of all, she said they found the filters, which were sort of the heart of that update, as part of a GNOME extension, and so someone else had done
Oh.
the work on that, and so true open source spirit. The value they brought was making them usable in the control panel and having all of the
Right.
kind of the usability of it. So, and I said, well, what would be the possibility of another project looking at this work and seeing the value of it and then being able to port it? And she was like, well, it's open source software. I mean, that's, oh my god,
That's how it's supposed to work.
cat.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, well, I'll not be speaking for the next few minutes because my cat's gonna have his way with me. If I'm lucky, he won't close all the
Bill,
software.
you
on
have
my
to
computer.
blur that little bit. I saw cat butt, so you got to blur that on the YouTube.
Yeah. Well,
Bill, you're
will
muted.
Will YouTube? He's pushed my mic away. Help me! Help me!
Bill, you're muted.
Anyway,
Eric, you
will-
can
will
hear
they-
me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Will they demonetize cat butt?
I don't think they'll demonetize the cat butt. But Bill, you had tinkered with your mic, and I think something happened with it.
Yeah.
I can't
now
hear
we
you.
can't hear you. I had a dream about this once.
About cat butt?
No, about not being able to hear Bill.
Oh, well, maybe it wasn't a dream. Maybe it's just deja vu.
Deja.
Deja Bill. Hey, there,
Deja.
there you go. That's another
No, I
title.
thought it and you said it.
There
I
you
wasn't
go.
actually going to go there. Yeah.
There it is.
Hey, there. it is.
I don't want to say why you couldn't hear me.
Did you unplug
Okay.
it?
I got one of these, I can't
Cough
pull it out.
buttons.
I got a little mute button. It's called Mute Me, and it's basically just got two buttons on it, one for the audio, one for the video. And all it does is send Alt-A and Alt-V keystrokes. And I had muted it so that I could turn this without, making any of these cool sounds that this thing makes. and I forgot to undo it. So
Look, you could be like that Charlie Puth guy or whatever, and you could have made a whole song out of those little sounds.
I was watching a show one time where they realized this guy did it, and they just kind of sat there and kind of acted like they could hear him. There was no sound at all for like
Aw.
3.5 minutes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you people are sick.
Yeah, what a fantastic.
Well, that's the
rave
reverse
this has
of
been.
I love pretending that my mic isn't working and I'm just mouthing words.
He had probably done that to some people at some point, and that was their way of getting them
That was
back.
the payback. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like naming people, but yeah, that was funny. So
I just assumed that's how every episode of Linux OTC went. I don't hear Eric ever.
I
Well, that's the premise for a new reality show is that you have conversations that are one-sided and you have to guess like lip reading or something like what the other person's saying.
What'd you say to me? Yeah.
It's
I don't think I would do very good at that because I take the wrong meaning when I can hear every word you say, so I can just imagine if I can't hear it. I mean, well, anyway, I think we can, getting short on time, we should probably get out of here.
You mean you don't want to
Yes.
keep talking about Wayland?
Well, I guess we do. I mean, Wayland, I've had this strange love-hate relationship with Wayland since kind of the beginning, where it kind of went from this, it's evolved from like, well, I check on it every now and then it went to, all right, every time there was an update, I go and check and see how well it works, and no, that's a bit of a faff, so go back to X, and I've gotten to the point now where my Arch machine is on Plasma Wayland constantly, but I still have the odd little thing that pops up every now and then. Right now, flat packs just look like garbage on it.
What do you mean?
The font rendering on literally every flat pack right now is terrible, and I don't know why.
You're not scaling, are you?
Well, I was, but it had it made no difference. It's got it's a 15 inch 4K screen, and I had it
100% it then.
Yeah, but then I changed it to 1080p at 100%, and it was the exact same thing.
Ew,
Just
you get I know the pixels line up and stuff, but it doesn't look right.
yeah, it just looked exactly the same in this case, though. So
Because I've been running into that a lot with Wayland. You know what I want? I want to be able to have all of the cool features of Markdown without having to write in Markdown. That would be my absolute favorite thing in the world. Like imagine LibreOffice, right? Not that heavy, but like a WYSIWYG editor. What do you call that? Rich text editor. But whenever you saved it saved it in Markdown, so that it's easily portable text, whatever. There was a project, MIT licensed, called MarkText that did exactly that, and then it was not abandoned, but there's not been a new release for over a year. And one of the things, it's based on Electron, and I don't particularly care about that, but one of the big things that has happened with the new Chromiums is that it is now fully Wayland compatible, which means that you can scale it and it won't look terrible. Well, MarkText looks terrible, and text has to look good if I'm going to be staring at it for a very, very long time. And I do, because I have to gather all this history and write notes and all that stuff for this kind of thing. So
have you tried Joplin? Not Joplin. Have you tried, Typora?
Oh, yeah, but that one was $15, and I wanted to try the open source one to see if I liked that kind of thing first.
Well, it's $15, and then but you just ignore it. It's
Oh,
like
no. Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, Typora. It's like
Oh, it's like WinRAR?
Yeah, it's like WinRAR. It just says unregistered, and it'll bug you every now and then, but it never really actually stops you from using it.
No way.
And the nice thing is, so there's themes, and the
Yeah.
best part is I found an actual killer theme that it's called Themable Dark, and it does the headlines right, it does the levels of headings right, it does the lists right, it does code blocks right, like it just looks good. And I
Yeah.
really like the single window approach of MarkText and Typora, where it's basically you're typing, you're
Yes,
inserting
yes.
the characters to create a heading, for example, but then that goes away and you just see the rendered form.
Yep. Yep, 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 yep,
But
yep, yep, yep.
that's the smartest
Nextcloud
approach
is
to me.
very close to that. I use Nextcloud Notes, and because it's the closest I've gotten to something like this, because it will add the formatting but not remove the down and dirty bits of it. So like the thing that really gets me is like I tend to write stories. I try to weave a story, and it's really hard to like read through a story when you've got a link from the web archive that is 6 miles long,
Yeah.
and so
Yep.
you have to move your eyes down 4 lines because I'm always writing in a very thin thing because
Mhm.
these note applications tend to like to be squishy, very squished in, and so
Yes.
um, that link it's 4 lines long, and so it's really hard to read. So I have to flip between preview and edit mode and preview and edit mode, and that gets really annoying. So this,
Yes.
I think Typora is I think that might be where I go, and I'm not averse to spending money on an application.
I bought
So
a
fifteen
license.
dollars. What's that?
I bought a license.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's totally worth it, man. I'd pay for Audacity too. Like at the theming is going to look really good. Oh my god, have you guys seen the new Audacity?
No.
Go look. Oh my god, it looks like a real
Really?
dog. Yeah, it looks like. I think you have to go to Tentacruel, whatever his face is, his Mastodon or his Twitter, but he has some early renders of what Audacity is going to look like. These are like the super nightly versions of Audacity right now. My god, it doesn't look like something from 1995 anymore. It
Hmm.
really like
Is it
imagine
QT?
Ardor. I don't
Because there was
know.
in the AUR, there's a Audacity QT version, but I can't get it to build. I can't get anything to build except for the Git
Oh, in the
version.
AUR, something that doesn't build in the
Yeah.
AUR. Huh?
Well,
Let's rewind 30 minutes and rehab
Shocking.
that entire
what's
conversation.
interesting is none of the AUR versions outside of just the regular Devel Git versions have been able to build for me. So
You don't say.
yeah, well, that's actually quite unusual, at least in my experience.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I've
but
only had that happen to software that I've tried.
Did
you got me. Or
all
stuff
right.
that I'm really, really relying on, like Audacity and all that. And
Well, so to close that out, though, I mean, like MarkText is fantastic on Mac. It's fantastic on Windows. It's fantastic on Linux if you don't scale in Wayland. That's my
Mhm.
only hang up on MarkText is that it does
The
everything that I
other
want it to
problem,
do.
is that it's not maintained. It hasn't been updated in
Well,
like 2 years.
so it has. It's the last update was a few months ago, it was in July or something. But there hasn't been a release since May 7th of 2022.
Okay.
So let's see, FXHA, who I believe is the owner of the whole, or is one of the big Yeah, he's second highest contributor. He is not on GitHub in a while, but let me see. The last commit was by him in August, so 2 months ago. So it's things are still happening in the background, but they haven't cut a release in a quite long while, and that makes me think that even if they did cut a release, it's not going to work anyway, at least in the way that I want it to, because the Chromium may not have been updated, so I don't get the cool Wayland bit
Oh
that's
no!
supported.
Now I remember what it was. They focus more effort on the web project that is forked off of MarkText.
Oh wait,
So
what?
if you,
Hold on, what?
yeah, that's what I figured out. So there's actually something that's using the code of MarkText in a browser plugin, and that's where most of the activity has gone in the last like year.
So
There, I have to find it, but I found it by digging in and finding a ticket or
is
a,
it called
or a
Mindbox?
I don't remember.
No, 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 it's not. But on the marktext.cc website, it tells you to go to Mindbox.
Muya, Muya. Yeah, so, and
MUYA.
it's a so if you just go to MarkText like their
Oh, there
main
it is. Yeah.
account, and that's what it. So there's like a so the development on that has been consistent and ongoing. Lots of commits, and I think they're
It's the
maybe
same people.
trying. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's the same people, but they're using rather than continuing to work on the desktop incantation of their software, they've been
That's
looking more to, they're considering the future, if you will.
that's sad. I don't, oh man. Like
Yeah.
because a desktop app is pretty important to me because I need it to work offline, and I don't want it to have to work in a browser that.
I'm
Well-
sick of browser-based stuff. The backlash needs to happen, you know?
No.
Got to be that
no.
change that you want.
No, no, not everything needs to be run in a browser, man. Because if I needed to run an operating system on top of my operating system, I would just run a VM. You know what I mean? Like, a browser is as complex as any operating system. This is why.
Firefox already takes up like 6 to 8 gigs of memory on the
I know,
system.
but I want to be able to write what I want to write without having Firefox open,
Yeah,
without having any
right.
browser open whatsoever.
Because it's not just right. You can open that app to do that thing, which is really more in the keeping with the Unix philosophy, which is, I have a task to undertake. I'm going to go to the thing to do the task, not the overwhelming, huge
Okay,
piece
yeah.
of software that. And because the other thing with doing things in a browser, I've noticed, is the distraction factor.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's
dude.
so easy to get just completely off track as you open that window and it's like, oh, you've got all these tabs. Oh, what's that? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
ugh.
Gets me every time, dude. That's where social
Yep.
media and stuff happens. And
Yep.
it's so easy to just be like, oh, well, what's happened new on Mastodon real quick? And then, 20 minutes later, I'm like, crap, I should have been doing this thing. And
Yeah.
But it gets me every time. And so a distraction-free thing is very, very important to me. So moving to the browser is not really something I want to do. So I'll just throw money at Typora, I guess.
Well, so that you can make an Electron app, and that's kind of like doing that, right? And then
Sort
you can
of.
also use the web apps feature in Linux Mint. That's
If
kind
I
of like
can,
having.
if I can get away from using Electron at all, which is one of the big reasons I didn't want to use Marktext in the first place because it's Electron based, is like I don't want to have to run an application in a browser. Like
Yeah.
it's not just that a browser is distraction filled, it is also that browsers are hard,
Yeah.
and when you don't update Chromium for a year and a half because that's what your version of Electron is based on,
Yeah.
then it's
Bad
not
things
good.
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I don't know, that makes me very tinfoil hatty, but still, if I'm gonna keep it up to date, I'm gonna keep it up to date. Might as well just let that happen in the background and stuff. But,
Leo, I just thought of a character for the security realm, Tinfoil Hattie, and it's
Tinfoil Hattie?
it's a little guy who has a pointy tinfoil hat, and he goes around warning people about
yeah,
how 5G
update
is
your
going.
browser, man.
Well, on that bombshell, we got to get out of here, kids.
Fine.
We're late for Mintcast.
No, we're not. You're 2 minutes early for Mintcast.
But I got to
Tons of
switch
time.
all this stuff over. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Why don't you have a Stream Deck where you push the button and it just does it for you?
I thought
You're
about
just being
that.
inefficient, Bill. You're just being.
I've just, for all the money that I've spent on all this other stuff.
What's a few $100s more?
They come down in price a little bit. If I can get my hands on a used one just to see if it's kind of workflow that really works for me, then I might do
Just
that.
get one of those number pads, the little side table number pads, and then just program each button.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. Save you $100.
Let us know what you think, folks. Show at linuxotc.org. You can comment directly on the website. We've got a Mastodon. We've got a Discord channel. Let us know what you think.
Hold on. What is the Mastodon actually? Say that.
It is linuxotc.org/Mastodon. And there's a link on the website.
Wait. Oh, yeah. You got the redirect, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yes. I've been using the redirect quite a bit lately.
Yeah. We
For
got on
different things.
Fostodon before they closed off the signups for Fostodon.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, they closed them up.
Oh, wow. We squeezed in there.
Yeah. You gotta know a guy now.
Ha. Anyway, kids, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, I've been Bill.
I've been Eric.
And I'm still Leo.
See you, folks.
Later.